I have been a very reclusive person most of my life. It started at a young age. Even in my early school years, my teachers would tell my parents I had antisocial behavioral problems. I was even included in some special 20-minute classes for speech and behavior in elementary school. At the time, I didn't comprehend why I was being brought there while the rest of my class wasn't. Middle school was when the pressures of the social hell at school is really started to set in. Kids started forming their friend groups, and that only carried over into high school and got worse. I never had learning disabilities or anything. I just had social issues which had gotten better as I grew older. However, I would still consider myself an awkward, introverted person. That being said, I have made close friends, and I am grateful for that. Now let's talk about relationships. Being a social recluse comes with trouble in dating. To be honest, not to get too graphic, but this is relevant to my story. I lost my virginity at 21, which I'd say is a bit late. At the time of this story, I was 23. I had already moved out of my parents' place, been working a high-paying job in my field for a couple of years, and had bought a townhouse in my hometown. It was pretty affordable, but still a nice and spacious place. I don't live there anymore, but it was a 2-floor townhouse. The kind of place that would impress someone at 23 if you owned it. One day while swiping on Tinder, I matched with a pretty decent-looking girl. I'll call her Emily. We went on a dinner date at a nearby restaurant. I was overthinking the whole time, worried that she was judging me or that I was acting awkward. By the end of it, I felt like she'd never want to see me again. But when I got home and went to bed, she texted me saying she really liked me and had fun. I was ecstatic. So we went on a second, third, and fourth date, and things started to feel great as I got out of my head. We became boyfriend and girlfriend fairly quickly. However, the honeymoon phase didn't last forever. When you first start seeing someone, you get excited every time they text or call you, craving their attention. Ideally, it's a two-way thing. But slowly I started feeling like she was texting me a bit too much at all times of the day. If I took too long to respond, she'd call me or send follow-up question marks. One day while we were on the couch, she demanded we share our locations with each other. I wasn't thrilled about this, even though I had nothing to hide, but I did it anyway. A couple of months into the relationship, things got worse. Now that we had our locations shared, she'd ask why I was at my friend Phil's house and not answering her texts. One night when I was with Phil and our friend Mark in Phil's basement, she actually showed up at his house. Phil's mom walked Emily downstairs, and she didn't even try to hide that she was furious. She immediately started yelling at me, reprimanding me for goofing around at Phil's house instead of answering her texts about going to some winery the next day. I asked her if we could discuss this later, but she insisted I leave with her. I apologized to my friends and went outside with her. We had an argument in the street. She wanted to come home with me, but I told her no. We both drove separately, so I went home and told her not to follow me. When I got home, I sent her a long text saying we needed a break and I needed space. Should I have done this in person? Probably text message breakups aren't fair most of the time. But honestly, in the moment, I was scared of what her reaction would be in person. Of course, she started calling me over and over, blowing up my phone with texts. When I eventually stopped answering, I heard aggressive pounding at my front door and constant ringing of the doorbell. It got so bad that my neighbor actually came out and asked her what she was doing. I listened from behind the door as she screamed at him, calling me all sorts of names. My neighbor calmly told her to go home. Eventually she left, and honestly, I was disturbed. The next day, I remembered to stop sharing my location with her. Immediately, as if she had been obsessively checking, she angrily texted me about it. Every message she sent made me more certain that I had made the right decision to cut ties. My final text to her was, "I'm sorry, Emily, I have to block you for a while. You're scaring me." Surprisingly, she didn't come knocking that night. However, she instantly stopped sharing her location as well. Exactly 1 week later, I went to Phil's house again and chilled with the guys. I left around 11 p.m. and got home shortly after. I wasn't tired and was hungry. So I threw some food in the microwave and put on the TV to find a scary movie. When the microwave beeped and the house went silent, I suddenly heard a click or thud from the dining room. The downstairs of my townhouse had a circular layout. The kitchen led to the dining room, which led to the living room, which led to the den. The den and the dining room had a door separating them. I muted the TV and listened closely. That's when I heard the door between the den and dining room clicking open. My blood ran cold. I called out, "Who's in here?" No response. I grabbed a knife from the kitchen and immediately called 911, speaking loudly so that whoever was inside would hear. I told the operator I thought my ex-girlfriend had broken into my house. She instructed me to wait outside, which I did. A police officer arrived quickly, and together we searched my entire house. Every closet under the bed, even the attic, nobody was there. The officer told me to call again if I heard anything. Later that night, I tried to shake it off, dismissing it as something in the house moving by itself. I almost texted Emily, but resisted. I took a melatonin and went to bed, but something woke me up in the middle of the night. My phone buzzing. It was a bunch of texts from an unknown number. It was Emily. She sent long messages apologizing, begging me to talk to her in person. Then she repeatedly texted, "Wake up," a total of 8 times. I responded, "Why are you awake right now? This is crazy. I told you I wanted nothing to do with you anymore." Seconds after I pressed send, I heard a scream from inside my closet. It was Emily's voice yelling, "No!" The closet door burst open. I jumped out of bed, ran to my bedroom door, and held it shut as she tried to open it. Then she started stabbing through the door with a knife. Thinking fast, I screamed, "Baby, I love you. Stop." She hesitated. I told her I was going through a rough time and planned on getting back with her. She calmed down and said, "That's all I wanted to hear." I convinced her to throw the knife across the room. The moment I heard it land, I yanked the door open and tackled her to the floor. I held her down until the police arrived. Emily was arrested and later imprisoned for serious charges. The legal process was long and exhausting. I never wanted this to end up on crime. YouTube channels, so I've been careful about details. But this will stick with me forever. Looking back, I realize I ignored the warning signs. I was too focused on impressing her to see the red flags. I hope my story helps others recognize danger before it's too late.